Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the moment you've been waiting for is now. Ha 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 ha. Carl Andre Cares is back to share another edition of the CAC show. And today I've got yet another exciting show with yet another exciting guest by the name of Miss Danae Peart. Who is Danae Peart? In due time, you'll find out here live on the CAC show with yours truly, Mr. Carl Andre. Hope everybody's doing well on this second week of December, right? Last month of the year, 2021, is almost beyond us, right? But for now, let's enjoy, let it take its course. Soak in all the reflection you can do for this year as it comes to a final close, right? And as I welcome our guests here onto the feed, good evening. How are you doing? Good afternoon or good evening, depending on which time zone you're in. But thank you, Ms. Peart, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us on another edition of the CAC show. I appreciate that. And as we just warm our guests up and say, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thanks for being here again for another weekly edition of the CAC show with yours truly, Mr. Carl Andre. So today's show is about making it happen. Our guest today is a true testament of someone who extends themselves to the community in order to contribute and elevate the population. I invited her on this show to enlighten us on her journey into becoming a brand and operation strategist and to take us through her journey of following and designing her life goals and objectives. Stay tuned with us here on this live show as we get some insights and golden nuggets from our guests. So with no further ado, I welcome to you our guest by the name of Miss Danae Peart. And who is Danae Peart? For those who don't know, she's a former CEO of Vibe 105 and VX3 Exchange, and she's an active community supporter from running food banks to giving back and being a voice of the people. She's an entrepreneur running her own media and business consulting company while working in the healthcare management domain. Now that is fascinating, right? And fantastic all at once. So I'm grateful to have you on the show today to talk about your story, journey, purpose, and passion. So thank you again, Miss Peart, for being with us. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hi, Andre. Thanks for having me. Hope you can hear me clearly because
Yes.
I'm using a device and I'm not going into headset mode. So I tend to try to work with what the technology dictates.
There you go.
Thanks for having me. Definitely looking forward to our chat and to see what we can learn together as well, right?
Awesome, awesome. I like it. I like it. That's well said. So, I usually ask people three words to describe themselves, but, you had three words that caught my attention, and they were empower, change, and grow, right? So I'm going to ask you, why empower, why change, and why grow?
So those three words are actually I guess, a mantra that I
Mm-hmm.
use in the work that I do, in everything that I do, actually. So when I decided to start officially my consulting company, I was like, well, I definitely need a tag. What is the tag about? It's about what I believe in. So I believe in empowering people. So that's why it's empower is the first one. I believe in empowering brands. I believe in empowering people. I believe in empowering organizations. And then change is my favorite thing. It wasn't always my favorite thing, but in the last decade or so, it's really my favorite thing. And so that's why the word change. I believe that if you don't change, you die. I believe those who are flexible are the ones that will survive all the ups and downs that are coming to us and at us, and grow. As the name suggests, grow with every change, grow with every circumstance, grow with every experience. And as it relates to consulting, I believe I can grow your brand or your business if you follow my tips. So, that's where those words came from.
I love that. And it's spot on with your brand, right? Because it's a reflection of who you are. So then it translates to what you can do for others, right? So did those words did they just come to you, or were they something that has developed? I know you said the change one over the past decade, but in general, is this like something new or something that has been with you from the onset?
So, as you get older, you start to realize truths about yourself.
Hmm.
And so it's really the truth about me. What do I do when I'm
Hmm.
in the presence of others? What do I do to others? I try to empower them. I try to empower women in media. When I was working in media full time, I try to empower young people to, get that spark and turn on
Hmm.
those lights and get those gears going. So when I sit with myself and sit with the truth of myself, empower always comes up. It's something I do by default sometimes, and sometimes it's something I do intentionally. So that's where empower comes from. Change came more by accident
Hmm.
because I've always been changing, like we all are. But are we
Absolutely.
taking note? Are we sure we're changing? Are we intentional in changing? And so the change piece, now that's my mantra, is really about being intentional in changing. I'm deliberately changing. I'm deliberately changing daily. I'm deliberately changing yearly. I deliberately want to change. I do not want to stay stagnant. I am
Hmm.
afraid of stagnation. The comfort zone is where nothing grows. So I'm constantly seeking change. And you don't want to just change for change's sake either. So that's
Yeah.
why you have to be intentional in what you're changing or how you're changing. And grow is more of a, what do I want to do? So I want to grow. I want to grow you. I want to grow your organization or your business or your brand. I want to do these things. And
Hmm.
I know that there are tried, tested, proven ways to grow. And so it is also an intention. When I say grow, I want to do that for you or it, right? So
Yes, there you go. And it's all about speaking things into existence, the power. So there's a lot of positive. I'm glad I asked that question because what you just mentioned, again, a lot of people, as I said earlier, this is a month of reflection, right? And again, something that you got to continuously do and account for, that people need that time, alone time with themselves, and think about, where they are, where they want to go, and, along that journey, if there's anything that they can improve, right? And again, that's what this whole mission of this show is, just to show people that, guess what? Just because what you're doing right now doesn't mean that this is the stop point. Like, this is just the starting point, but you have to believe it from here and then go after it and make it happen, right? So
correct.
I keep chanting that because it's near and dear to me. And that's what all I want is for people to infuse themselves with positivity, right? So with that being said, so for those that are unfamiliar with the term, like cultural curator, right? What exactly is a cultural curator, and how did you end up in this field?
um, so all of my work in media in particular
Hmm.
was about cultural curation, but it wasn't formally so. So, working at the most diverse radio station in the city, building it and rebuilding it,
Hmm.
was a work in cultural curation. It is us sitting down and identifying the cultures that we see as underrepresented that we wanted to represent and elevate.
Hmm.
And so it was a job, but I wasn't like, oh, this is what I do. I'm a cultural curator. Um, cultural curator though as a title
Hmm.
became more evident, especially when I left Vibe. And I was like, what are the lanes that I will go down? And we can talk more about lanes because a lot of people think you need to stick to a lane, and I don't. So what are the
Hmm.
lanes that we go down? And one of the lanes I went down was,
Hmm.
what was I good at? I was good at protecting, elevating culture, and so curating same. So how does that show up now? That shows up
Hmm.
in jobs like the work I do with festivals. So
Hmm.
multiple music festivals have approached me either for ideas on who to book, or have all out asked me to handle the booking, handle the curation of the experience, and so on. So that's that lane that I'm in. One of the lanes that I'm in is,
Yeah.
if you want, especially people come to me for reggae. I think because I'm Jamaican born, and because I used to do a reggae show on radio, and because I always talk about reggae, the first go to that I get is for reggae
Is
curation.
awesome.
But I'm actually involved in other music projects. I love all genres of music, almost all genres of music. Not a big fan of death metal, but everything else, I I have taken it in. And so I believe over the years of doing media, I have an ear for what is good. And that's kind of what you want the curator to do. You want the curator to have taste. So I wanna be a tastemaker, across, Canada, if
Yeah.
necessary, to, bring to the forefront, all the cultural elements that I hold dear, or other cultures hold dear, and see how we can better place them for everybody to consume and enjoy.
That's awesome. So let's just go a little bit deeper into that convo there in terms of, your position there at Vibe. Like obviously you ended up in the CEO level, but you started out at where? Or how did talk to us about that, how that came about so we can kind of, build from there.
So, oh my gosh. So I'm going to try to give you the abbreviated version of Danae in media. Danae always wanted to work in media and broadcasting. You know, in Jamaica, I went to CPTC and I did voice and speech training. I applied to
Awesome.
Carimac and didn't get in. Anyway, so the journey has always been there for media, and the love for media has always been there. I actually thought I would just be a broadcaster. I think I have a
Okay.
very good broadcaster voice, and
Absolutely.
that's where the passion started.
Yeah.
There was passion, and then I came and studied media. My first degree is in media communications, and a double major was linguistics. And then, life took a turn, and I did other degrees, and kept shifting and changing. Ultimately, all of those things are part of my toolkit and have formed the person I am now. So anyway, when I was looking for work, it was, do I keep pushing against the grain of what my other degree was? So my other degree was in urban studies, urban planning, community development, and so on. And so the jobs that were told to us in master's programs were not jobs I was getting.
Yeah.
And then I remembered, hey, I used to volunteer in radio. I used to do radio shows. I used to read the news. I used to do all these things. And that was the first passion. That's what brought you here to Canada.
Absolutely.
So the opportunity kind of fell in my lap. The older incantation of what we have now as Vibe was CHRY. So
Yeah.
CHRY radio had an opening. The station manager / operations manager was leaving. He was leaving the org. I was, a former board member, former volunteer, all of these things. And a board member said to me, would you consider just fill in, just be acting operations and manager until
Yeah.
we get our footing? Well, the rest is history. I was acting operations and manager, and then became manager and operations. And that journey on its own was, over, 8 years with CHRY.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
then I changed the org with my team, and we emerged as Vibe 105 and VX3, a hybrid social enterprise organization where we had the media on one side and the work of the social enterprise on the other side, which was, media training and engagement. And now, we're going into other things like digital marketing and so on. So
Wow.
that
That's a huge
transition
undertaking.
was that.
That's a huge undertaking there, right? To
Yeah,
do that whole brand
it
relaunch,
was
right?
it was a huge undertaking to to change an old concept
Mm-hmm.
because everybody only saw the radio station. Funny
Yep.
enough, we were always hybrid in our functioning. Like we were a registered charity all along. We were doing training in media all along. But we
Mm-hmm.
decided to pull up our pants and be more intentional about the work that we were doing. So we were
Yeah.
going to have a multi-pronged organization that, yes, continues our charitable commitment to supporting schools through media education,
Mm-hmm.
and put forward one of the best options in radio in the city, and use both entities to empower each other and grow, right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that was the vision. It took a lot out of me in the first 2 years of the org,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a literal reorg, literal reimagining, rebranding, all of those things.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the reasons I'm not there anymore, because it was a lot of work in the
A
front end.
lot of
Yeah,
work, a lot of time, a lot of dedication, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
when that opportunity came about, like, were you a little hesitant in terms of that rebranding, or were you like championing the change, or how did that come about? Just to.
Oh, so the rebranding
Hmm.
was a team idea. So
Yeah.
myself and my co-manager,
Hmm.
who is now the CEO of Vibe, we, I mean, I'm telling secrets. So when I hired him,
Hmm.
we kind of intuitively knew we weren't going to stay the same.
Yeah.
And that's why both of us connected and clicked, because we intuitively had bigger dreams for the
Hmm.
entity. And that's why we were always drawn together to work together. So pulled him into my team. He's a catalyst for change on his own.
Hmm.
And then, together, it always helps if you're in an organization and the leader of the organization is on the same page as you, so your ideas
Absolutely.
your ideas don't die. So it was a
Yeah.
it was a conversation that started actually under the old brand. So under the
Hmm.
old brand, we were working late one night after one of the many projects that we work on. So we sat in a room and he started to pick my brain.
Yeah.
And there's nobody was in the office, just the two of us, and we're brainstorming. And he started to
Hmm.
pick my brain. What is it that you always wanted to see? Blah 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 blah. And we went through that. And then we were brainstorming so much, we pulled out a whiteboard and started to just plot it out.
Put things down. Yeah.
And that plot was two
The
and a half
birth.
years before we changed the org.
Oh, wow. So it takes that long because it's a big rollout, right? So
It's a
you
big,
gotta.
big rollout. It's a non-profit platform. It's
Hmm.
it's a charity. It's a legacy org where people are going to carry feelings and all. So
Absolutely.
how do you strategically change an org that is set in its way,
Hmm.
that you also run, right? So it was quite an undertaking. So it took us a time, and people in Toronto can attest to this. Things take long to change in Toronto, man. Like
Caribbean, somewhat.
I don't know if it's the Caribbean. I think Canada in general is always behind the curve with a lot of change.
That's true.
And then Toronto, as much as we pose as a big city, we're very small town in our activities. And
Hmm.
so imagine bringing these new ideas forward. Like
Yeah.
we had to deal with pushback from our board, who were volunteers, and some of them didn't understand it. Just constant pushing,
Hmm.
until we could get the idea on the ground. So the idea, I take a good percentage of
Yeah.
ownership for the idea.
Hmm.
But needless to say, it was really the two of us working together to make it happen.
Yeah. Collaboration. So
Yes.
Scully Mellow Vibes is saying facts. So you're talking the truth
Yeah.
right there. But it's interesting that brainstorms, masterminds, that's where a lot of times the best things are created. They always say two heads are better than one, right? So, let that be known. People should always embrace to tell and share their ideas with others and get input from others, because that's how things get better.
Yeah.
Especially our community, we are more closed in terms of, oh, I can't tell this person this because if I do, they're gonna know too much or etc. And then we're just holding ourselves back, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, definitely something to think about. So, we all heard the term like do what you love in terms of working and being in something that brings you that passion so that it makes it you move along further, right? But there's a lot of people out there that might be listening here now or later that they like that concept, but they haven't realized how to turn their actual thing into a business, right? So I mean, again, we're talking about the story of your evolution throughout the vibe and your journey with schooling and things like this, and it wasn't panning that direction. But how did you figure out how to monetize cultural curation, right? So in case we can help somebody there.
You know, the secret is still not out.
Yeah.
It really depends on your network and the people that you come across who can see the same visions that you see for culture, for music, for whatever product it is you have,
Hmm.
for whatever skill you bring to the table. I
Yeah.
wanna I wanna kind of jump back a little bit to where you started with the question around
Okay.
passion, right?
Yeah.
So I am passionate about a lot of things. Anybody who follows me on social media knows I'm political, I'm all of that.
Hmm.
However, I actually don't subscribe anymore to this thought that, people should make their passion their paycheck. I think
Hmm.
people should make what they're good at
Hmm.
their paycheck. I'm good at a lot of things, and
Hmm.
those are the things I hone, yearly to see, is there an angle here for me to earn? So
Hmm.
I would want people who are watching to actually sit down and write out not just what you're passionate about, but what are you good at?
Hmm.
What do you have a skill set that maybe you were suppressing because, oh my gosh, if we start talking about the layers that suppress us from church to family to friends,
Absolutely.
there are layers that will suppress your creativity, your excitement for different things, and your skill set around
Hmm.
certain things. So I'll give you an example. I know people who, like if you come up in African culture or Caribbean culture,
Hmm.
um, you know that if you're not a lawyer, doctor, teacher, or nurse, or one of the professions, your family basically thinks you're a waste youth, right? So,
It's true.
like they legit don't know what else you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine? Can you imagine our parents hearing
Hmm.
somebody say to them, "My job is influencer"?
Yeah.
They would, they would die.
They'd be like, what does that mean
What,
exactly?
what kind of foolishness is that, right?
Yeah.
So, but over time, we have to learn
Hmm.
that there are skill sets that we may have suppressed, there are interests that we may have had that we're good at, and those are the things that can actually earn you money. So, an
Absolutely.
example of that is there are people right now that will watch this, maybe on the replay,
Hmm.
that are very good at cutting hair. Like
Hmm.
my former hairdresser, when I used to perm,
Yeah.
she can cut a hair like
Hmm.
straight line, no ruler. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
straight.
Talent, natural talent.
That's
Hmm.
her skill.
Hmm.
She is good at that, to the point where anybody who wanted a cut would go to her.
Yeah.
To the point where when I went natural and I was
Hmm.
doing the big chop, I went back to her. She did
Yeah.
my big chop because I
Nice.
know when it comes to cutting,
Precision.
skilled. I have to pick her up, Val Ellis, in case she's watching this.
There you
Um,
go.
Val,
Valerie.
Valerie Ellis.
Yeah.
She is at the look. I'm,
All right.
free plug, but
There you go.
free plug, but she's good at that.
Hmm.
That's the thing I want people to write down. What are you good at? Not just what you like, what you're passionate about, because a lot of people get confused about passion versus skill.
Yep.
What are you
Absolutely.
good at? That's where you make money. Because if
And
you're
it's
good at it, nobody can confuse what you
yeah.
offer, right? So, fast forward now to the end point of your question.
Hmm. I like that
I'm
though.
good at cultural curation. I'm
Yeah.
good at identifying talent. I have a very good ear. I like very good auditory skills, whether it is from music, from doing a show in radio, from broadcast skill sets, whatever that happened, I'm good at those things. And
Hmm.
I'm good at other things. I'm good at running an organization. I'm good at, all these other layers.
Yeah.
I sat down and wrote it down. What
Nice.
am I good at? And then I started going, is there money here?
Hmm.
Because I could be good at something that ain't nobody want.
100%.
There's that. So,
Yeah.
but what are the
That's a
things that
big
I'm good
factor.
at? And then, is there money here? And so there are
Hmm.
festivals around the world. If I got really serious about cultural curation, we wouldn't have time to talk because there are
Yeah.
festivals around the world
Happening all the time,
happening
right
all the
throughout the
time
year.
who need a talent scout or who need somebody to actually put the festival together. There are some people who have money all about the place and have no clue
Hmm.
what to do with it, eh? And
100%.
then there are people with the skill sets that I have who can
Hmm.
help you spend your money wisely,
Hmm.
who can help you elevate talents if that's what your MO is, whatever that case may be. So anybody listening to us, if you don't write down what your skills are, not just what you're passionate about, but what are
Yeah.
you good at, you're not gonna find that angle for earning.
Is it a good idea to like ask 3 or 5 of your closest friends and ask them what do they think you're good at or something like this, or should it be something that you should just know automatically already internally?
I don't think we always know. I don't
Hmm.
and when I say that I mean we know in our hearts,
Yeah,
but
but it might not be the same.
but somebody outside of us
Yeah.
will say, listen, Danae, when you talk,
Hmm.
listen. We have to listen. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like when I followed the dream from Jamaica all the way here for broadcasting, it was because
Hmm.
I was emceeing events in Jamaica.
Yeah.
My
Wow.
first MC gig was a friend of mine was getting married and was like, "You can MC my wedding," and I'm like, "Hell no, I've
And
never
you
done
didn't
that in
even
my
know.
life."
You didn't know that you could do it,
And
but you did it.
she's like, "Oh please, every day you're an MC. Every
Hmm.
day I see you, you're an MC. Come and do my wedding." You
And
understand?
that's how it started, right there.
That's how it started. And
Yeah.
and I'm gonna blow my own horn here. I am
Hmm.
one of the best MCs in this city. It's
There
not
you
known. It's
go.
not known. It's not known. Not known. But I
Let
am.
it be known now, here,
And
live.
seeing is an art, and we
Hmm.
figured it out. So
Yeah.
that is something I'm good at. So check. I put that on my list.
Hmm.
Every summer, especially, you can find me emceeing across this city. Every summer, without
Nice.
fail. And I don't even actively go after it. So
Hmm.
imagine if all these things that you're good at after you've listed them, you then go after them.
Hmm.
Imagine.
Attraction, the laws, definitely. It's
Yeah.
tenfold, right? But that's some sound advice. So you guys heard it here first. Make your list and check it twice. It's almost Christmas. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're here live on the CAC show with yours truly, Mr. Carl Andre, and our guest of honor, Miss Danae Peart. If you got questions on brands, media, consulting, and more, drop them down below so that we can address them for you. So, Miss Perth, as we said earlier, you know, your 3 words, empower, change, and growth, right? You called yourself a change maker, right? So what's the last change maker type move that you initiated that you're most proud of?
I'm proud of Vibe VX3.
Hmm.
I'm
That's
I'm
amazing.
I'm extremely proud of Vibe VX3.
Amazing.
I'm extremely proud that I also knew that I could walk away.
Hmm.
That I get more proud of each year.
Yeah.
Each year I get more proud of that decision. To let others also shine in their element and
Hmm.
take what I started and what I started with them to another level. But I'm
That's amazing.
extremely proud of that. And Andre, I'll tell you this. One of the reasons I'm proud was because of the beating I took for it.
Hmm.
So you mentioned when you were introducing me how much work I do in the community and so on and so forth. Our community, small C community, because they act bigger than they are. uh, our our small C community
Yeah.
beat me badly
Oh yeah.
for changing CHRY.
Yeah.
Beat me badly. I
They
mean,
couldn't accept it or see the vision
couldn't
at
see
the
the
start, right?
vision and so on,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't realize it wasn't for them to see. It was for them
Yeah.
to experience. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
the decision maker, why would you want to be the decision maker? You're not the decision maker. You're not the one that's forging the change. So why would you think you would understand all elements of it?
Yeah.
That being said, I took a lot of licks. I had to change all of my social media handles.
Oh wow.
It is actually, however, the birth of Media Biz TO.
Mm-hmm.
Media Biz TO
Yeah.
literally came out of me changing my social media handles, running from the abuse that I was getting online.
Wow.
And I was just like, guess what? Guess what? Are you still hearing me? Because there's
Yeah,
a
we can hear you now. There's a call that came through.
yeah,
Yeah,
there's
but
a
you're good
call
now.
coming in and like disturbing us.
Yeah.
So so literally the day I changed
Mm-hmm.
my social media handle, I was thinking of changing it all that week. But the day I changed my social media handle, I sat
Yeah.
at my desk there at Vibe,
Mm-hmm.
sat at my desk and I'm like, what do you want to be known for now?
Mm-hmm.
And it was media and business consulting that was always in the back of my mind. And I
Nice.
said, Media Biz TO, Toronto. So Media
Mm-hmm.
Biz TO, that's where it started.
That's the birth of it,
Yeah.
right? So in pain, it became to create something new, right? So, again, like this is what I said in my intro, like you're a testament of, someone who's changing and going through that motion of elevating their current situation, right? From when you took that trip from Jamaica to Canada and you were pursuing the talent that you liked or loved, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And it took you on a journey at the same time. You didn't put all your eggs in one basket. You made sure that you can have leverage over other opportunities. And I think that is like a big issue, especially in our community, right?
Yes.
Where, like, again, there's different schools of thought where it's like, do one thing, stick with it until it works, and then move on,
Yeah.
right? And then there's the other school of thought that do multiple things, and then if one lifts off, then focus your energy there, and then you can go back to the others, right?
Yes.
So again, I don't know what's right or wrong. I know I'm from the latter
Yeah.
point of view where you do a lot, and then yes, something lifts off, and then yes, I've put pure gasoline on being a mortgage professional, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've done well. And again, like but it started with the visions of these thoughts of saying of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. So again, that's kind of why I'm always, pushing this mantra onto people that, listen, it can get better.
Yeah.
It's up to you. What do you want out of it, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us. Where did your passion for journalism come from?
Oh my goodness. So I did a TEDx, and
Mm-hmm.
I spoke a little bit about this.
Yeah.
Growing up in Jamaica, I really wish one day to really speak to this even on a bigger scale. The power of media to impact communities and lives was very real to me in Jamaica. So as
Mm-hmm.
a child growing up, we had one of those old stereos. I don't know if you know, Andre, but these stereos, like they were
We're
so
huge.
big you could lay down in them, right? Like if everything was taken out, you could lay down in them. So my grandparents had this stereo in the house.
Mm-hmm.
One side was the turntable, if y'all can imagine. There was a turntable.
Wow.
The other side were buttons that you pressed down for settings for radio. And the
Mm-hmm.
bottom was the speaker, and beside the speaker was a drawer that you kept your vinyl in. So this is
Wow.
this is my favorite stereo, right? As a kid, every time that radio was on, as a little
Mm-hmm.
kid, I would look behind the radio.
Thinking,
I'm
where's it coming
trying
from?
to find the voice. Who are these voices? And they speak so clearly, and they're emoting and they're touching me. They must
Mm-hmm.
be in the house, and
Mm-hmm.
ergo must be behind this radio. So as a child, in my simplicity,
Yeah.
I wanted to hear those voices and I wanted to know where they came from. And so I would always look behind this big stereo. never saw the
Yeah.
voice, sometimes imagined what these people looked like. And I'm
Nice.
talking about some greats that have influenced my sound and my work in media. Marie
Mm-hmm.
Garth, the late Doreen Samuels, Alan Magnus, those names in Jamaica, if you know anything about Jamaican
Legends.
radio, they are
Mm-hmm.
legends.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the people I wanted to be.
Nice.
It started at a base level. The earliest memory I have would probably be age 4,
Wow.
age 3 or 4. That's how soon I had that passion.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know if it was a skill, but I had that passion. And
Mm-hmm.
then over time, I would hone those skills, whether it is in church, in doing, I did acting in church, I led in church, I spoke up in church, I was MC for this and host for that. And then I went to CPTC and did training. It was always building
Nice.
to this point. So that's where it started, if I'm to
Yeah.
put it.
Awesome, amazing, and I like the fact that you know exactly where it came from, right? The seed was planted, but then you were there watering the plant, like right throughout, even till now, right? And that's again, some people think that you just flick a button and things happen, right?
No,
But there
no.
has to be dedication, discipline, and hard work
Yeah.
that you put in. So shout outs to Wiseology Show. He's saying,
With
there's Wizology. There you go. Saying his boss right here, live in the flesh. So, I saw an interview that you did with the Canadian legend, Julie Black, right? And talk to us about that experience. What was it like interviewing her?
I mean, so here's the thing. I know Julie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've become more familiar with Julie even after I left um, radio. So of course I met Julie in radio.
Yeah.
We would have her at the station, we would interview her at the station, she would come up, all of that stuff. So we were always
Mm-hmm.
friendly. And over time we became more friends.
Yeah.
And so me interviewing Julie actually made total sense to me. I don't know if Vibe knew. But so Vibe, Vibe and VX3 are doing some big things in the city, and you'll see more. And
Mm-hmm.
among them is utilizing a creative space
Mm-hmm.
where an interview goes beyond radio. It's
Yeah.
picking up on all the senses and using digital media and so on. And they called me and said, "Can you do this thing clutch?"
Mm-hmm.
But I know Julie.
Yeah.
So
It's
it
no
wasn't too
problem.
clutch. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, I know where to go with these questions. It's good. I can make these questions. So but speaking to her in the context of who Julie Black is,
Yeah.
Canada's queen of R&B, and knowing another side of Julie, like in the last year and a half when we were
Mm-hmm.
feeding folks through our initiative. We were doing
Yeah.
a feeding program, and we used the JCA space to do this. I
Yeah.
called Julie. She messaged me. She saw my pictures of the meals that we were sending out, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, it's so great! You guys are
Yeah.
doing." I called her, and I'm like, "You want to be a part of it?" She's like, "I can't believe you've asked me. I
Mm-hmm.
totally want to be a part of it." That's the
Boom. Just like
that's
that.
the other Julie I know. The Julie I know
Mm-hmm.
is giving and kind and loving and has great love for her community.
Yeah.
So it was great for me to be able to help to facilitate her shine in
Mm-hmm.
that interview, because we were talking about her project. She was going to be the lead for one episode of the series Digstown. She was going to be the lead for the first episode. So
Nice.
talking about how her life has come full circle to that and all of those things
Mm-hmm.
gave me just pleasure. Just gave me
Yeah. Yeah. Big shout outs to Julie Black. She's doing huge things in the community, empowering women, getting them fit, motivated, and
yes,
elevated, right?
yes,
So,
yes.
it's a great thing. One day, I hope to have her on the show as a guest too. So speak that into existence.
Beat
So,
it.
you know, all right. So we talked about Julie Black. Like, talk to us. What was your most favorite, interview of all time that you ever done, and why? And you can't say
Ooh.
Julie Black, okay?
No, 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 no. So, so I'm gonna go old school with this answer.
Yeah.
Two interviews that I really honor. My very, very first radio interview was
Hmm.
Olive Senior. She is now actually Jamaica's poet laureate or writer. I think it's poet laureate for the year leading into 2022.
Yeah.
That was my first radio interview. I was a volunteer at 105. That was my
Nice.
first radio interview. She was extremely gracious. I was nervous and worked out the kinks, but I had great questions and it just flowed and everything worked out. That
Hmm.
was my favorite interview because she was a legend to me. I grew up as
Hmm.
a kid. We had her books in school. You know, like we read her poetry in
Wow.
school. So that was big. And then I've interviewed all kinds of artists and so
Hmm.
on that have come into the city. I've interviewed even Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child. Like
Oh, nice.
I've done all kinds of interviews. But the ones that always stand out for me are the ones where I surprise the person with the questions that I have.
Hmm.
And not a gotcha, but a oh my gosh, she
Yeah.
she did her research.
There you go.
Oh my goodness, she knows me in a way that I
It,
didn't know I was known. You know, so
let's see if I could replicate that at some point in our conversation. But definitely people don't know how hard and long doing an interview process is and the work put in, right? But sorry to cut your train of thought. So continue with that experience that, in terms of that
yeah, so
meeting your legend, your idol, who you were looking up to, reading her
there's
books and her poetry.
read her books and so on, and so she was iconic for me. I was like, I
Hmm.
never knew when you're going through school and doing exams and writing about these people's work, you never thought you'd meet them.
Yeah,
I met her
100%.
through, a phone interview, so that was pretty awesome, pretty cool. And now we follow each other on Twitter, which is like bizarre to me. Like, you know what I mean?
Wow, look at
But
that.
elder stateswoman, like
Hmm.
she's the one. So that was very important to me because it was my very first interview. And then subsequently, I've interviewed quite a few names that I don't boast about, but I've interviewed quite a few people.
Hmm.
I think, who did I surprise? I'm sure I surprised reggae artists because
Yeah.
I do research on them and they're like, oh my goodness, how do you know? How did you find that?
Where did you get that information?
Because I'm just gonna say this. I like to throw shade sometimes. We need to write better bios, folks, for our folks. So anyway, so I have to do deep dives, and when I do deep
Hmm.
dives, I come up with really good interviews,
Nice.
and so those people are impressed. I mean, I remember doing an interview with Luciano and Taurus Riley together. They were in
Hmm.
town for an event, and I got the chance to interview them together.
Wow.
And when I said this one was good actually because I said to Luciano, so a lot of people don't know that your first DJ name was Steppa John.
Mm.
He almost fell out.
His jaw dropped right there.
Fell out. Fell out because I just said it by the way. A lot of people don't know.
Yeah.
Like me and Lucy are friends. But here's the thing: we're friends. Like I consider us very good acquaintances. Like he
Hmm.
never walks past me anywhere he sees me in the world. So
Nice.
those things, those memories are with me for eternity, really.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, I noticed that you have a passion for photography as well, like flowers in specific, right? I saw some pretty incredible pictures. So, is that like an outlet for you to decompress, or is it more of a side business? Or
So
talk to us about that.
it started as a decompression. It
Hmm.
the I've always been a photographer in the family, but
Hmm.
not good at it.
Hmm.
But every occasion I had a camera. I've had every incantation of cameras actually. I had an instant camera when I was in Jamaica, the one that you
Yeah.
flash, the Polaroids. I've
Yeah.
had the one where you forward the thing to move to advance the film. I've had every kind of
All of
camera.
them. Hmm.
And this is another thing, Andre, that speaks to passion that can become skill, right?
Hmm.
I've always been passionate about taking pictures. I've always been passionate about being behind the camera and capturing moments because I do believe that we should preserve moments as best as we can.
Absolutely.
And so I was always taking pictures. But out of stress, I took it up more
Hmm.
to decompress. I was just like, oh, let me snap. I started actually with clouds. You see my flowers, but I started with clouds. I was capturing cumulonimbus and all of the limbus them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was my first like intense attempt at taking real photos.
Mm-hmm.
It has now become a skill. I am not a great photographer by no stretch of the imagination yet.
Mm-hmm.
I say yet, because I'm
There you
constantly
go.
learning the tricks and so on. But I've actually earned money from doing it now.
That's awesome.
So,
Can't beat that.
it can't beat that.
Yeah, and recognizing that there's still room for growth, right? That goes hand in hand because, people, again, it goes back to what I said earlier, that you think that I made it, I'm good. Like that's it. I don't need to learn anymore. But no matter in any profession or field you're in, you got to keep elevating, keep
Yeah,
learning, keep growing, right?
yeah.
That's it's necessary. So, speaking of growing and elevating, you started a series called Reading in the Time of COVID, which is another reminder that I need to make more time to read. But, unpack this for me, right? Why was reading one of the pillars for you at that time?
So, we always say reading is essential. Reading has always been core to my intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever people give me compliments, oh, you speak well, words, da, 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 it's because I read. Like I'm in my library right now. My study is my
Yeah, you
library.
could see the
And you
books
can
right
see the books.
behind you.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
very passionate about reading and the importance of
Mm-hmm.
reading. But what happened in COVID to us, like we haven't as a collective actually talked about COVID in the real sense. Like we
Mm-hmm.
talked about COVID vaccine, blah blah blah, all those things. But have we talked about the psychological toll
Mm-hmm.
that COVID has taken on all of us in
Everyone.
different ways? From us packing on extra pounds
Mm-hmm.
to us, going between depression and anxiety, teetering on brinks. All of those things were happening. And in 2020 in particular,
Mm-hmm.
I felt tightening. I felt tightening happening to me. I'm functioning. I'm going out to work every day. I work in healthcare now, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going out to work every day as a manager. I can't like not go in and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt a tightening, a tightening, a tightening. And I'm like, what is the thing that brings me comfort?
Mm-hmm.
Photography, reading, music, all the creative things
Yeah.
save us
Nice.
all the time.
100%.
And so, I've always been a very good reader. I actually fancy myself a very good out loud reader.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll read for kids. I'll do all the like I did that recently. I read for some kids in a nursing home, in a children's home in Jamaica. Like I am
Nice.
very passionate about reading and the skill set of reading. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, how do I make this something that we can all latch onto and be useful in COVID? I always want to be useful. And
Yeah.
so I picked up Toni Morrison's book, um, The Bluest Eye, and just started reading. And I was like, I'm gonna
Nice.
go live. I'm gonna go live and read it and see, if two people come in, great, and then
Yeah.
see what happens. And I cannot tell you
Mm-hmm.
the impact that had on people that I didn't even fully fathom. Like people were
Nice.
messaging me and was like, "This is something I never knew I needed." Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Whoa, that
Mm-hmm.
just me reading,
Just that.
just
Change
that."
lives, right?
Yeah.
So you never know. It's the small things that go a mile, right? So, you know, great leaders believe they work for their team. Average leaders believe their team works for them, right? You posted this a while back, and what about this statement resonated with you and why?
Andre. So I'm I'm always contending with good leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I I am always provoking myself about, am I a good leader? What are my leadership skill sets and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell people all the time, my style of leadership is not top down. My style of leadership is actually to work side by side and collaborate. My style of
Nice.
leadership is, if you're rolling up your sleeves, I'm gonna roll up my sleeve.
I
It's
like that.
not. I am your colleague in leadership. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I'm firm, and anybody who knows me knows I am very strict and firm, and my Virgo side is leaning towards perfectionism and all of those
Nice.
things.
I like that.
But as a leader, I'm always looking at, how do we execute this task of leadership? Because I don't believe everybody's a leader. I don't believe everybody that has a title is a leader. So just
Mm-hmm.
because they call you manager or supervisor over at your job doesn't mean you're a leader. A
Yeah.
leader listens. A leader is alongside their team. In fact, I would argue that most good leaders have come up through the ranks, have
100%.
have done all the pieces that they are now telling their team to execute,
They can
and
relate.
can relate. And that is actually, to me, more powerful leadership than people who think they should dictate
Mm-hmm.
to people what they do. Like that's so old, played out, old school leadership model. It's
Yeah.
so not. It's so not on wave. Like really, if that's your style of leadership, cut it out. Honestly, cut it out. It's embarrassing to see.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. But you're right. It's like that. There's that picture, right, where it shows people, the leader either commanding people to do or he's pulling the rope with them, right?
Yes.
So it goes hand in hand, right?
Yes.
That's the way to win. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yes.
So, as we talked about your education, right? You have like 3 degrees, including a master's from Waterloo, right?
Yes.
And, we talked about your story, and that is a huge congratulations, first and foremost, right? For you putting in that dedication and discipline to achieve that greatness, right? But just talk to us about that. Was it a hunger for knowledge that initiated this, or did you keep going back as the industry was evolving, right?
So it's a combination of things, right? So
Mm-hmm.
as I said earlier, Caribbean and African cultures push you to education. We
100%.
actually, as cultures, we actually think education will free us. We literally, we go, if you're poor, go to school. You cannot be poor anymore. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
that's literally how we were raised, and that is in me. And
Mm-hmm.
so, pursuit of knowledge is where I am now, but at the time I was pursuing education. And so,
Mm-hmm.
each time I would, hit some kind of snag in my development, I shifted gears. I'm like, okay, so media communications isn't welcoming me just yet. All right, here's another passion I've always had. It's development and planning. I love urban
Mm-hmm.
planning. So I went and did urban studies. And then
Yep.
that urban studies degree opened up my mind further to local economic development, which is what my master's is in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and as I said, everything is a part of your toolkit. So,
Yep.
the girl who was passionate about radio from a kid, who came here to do broadcasting, ended up using all of these pieces to formulate her leadership model and to
Mm-hmm.
formulate all the tasks that she now does, right? So they've all informed
It
her.
all jives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like as a Jamaican, my family is proud that
Hundred percent. Yeah,
that I
you
have
did the
some
right thing.
that I have some degrees. And and my aunt tells me all the time I should go back for the PhD.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'll say this much: every 2 years, I would either apply or investigate a PhD.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These last 2 years, I have not.
Yeah.
So I think that's out of my system now. I don't think I'll be doing any more degrees, but I
Yeah.
sure will do more studies.
Ah, the studies never stop, but you
No,
never say never. We might just see you going back for that PhD, right?
don't you
But it's
dare.
good. It's good that you celebrate your roots, right? In a lot in Jamaica, being proud, right? And I could see that you definitely post a lot of news and stories from outside of Jamaica, right? Why is it important for you to stay close to your roots and to be an advocate of the evolution of the Jamaican story?
I think it is our duty as
Mm-hmm.
those of us who have participated in brain drain. I think it is
Brain
our
drain. I
due.
like that.
I think it is our duty to give back to our island home, or
Mm-hmm.
whichever home you come from. If you're from the continent of Africa and you've come from one of the countries there, I think
Yeah.
it is your duty as a daughter or son of the soil to give back in whatever way, and to be very much um, sometimes an advocate, sometimes an agitator,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes a worker, sometimes an investor, whatever that role is. I believe it is our duty. But, you know, that's just me. So
Yeah.
I am passionate about Jamaica as much as I'm very clear that I cannot return. There's a theorist that I really, really love. He's Jamaican born and lived in England, and he's very, very smart guy and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Stuart Hall. When I was in school doing my first degree, I read Stuart Hall's work, and one of the things he wrote was, "There is no going home." And he was speaking from the perspective of the immigrant. So as much as we've left, hi Jeremiah, as much as we've left this island home, and many of us came here on the 5-year plan. I was one of them. You know, 5 years, I'm going to go get my degree, get myself together, going back to Jamaica, going back. We can't go home. It's not the same home that we remembered. In fact, some people haven't gone. I go home every year. There's some people who haven't gone home in 20 years, and they're going back to Jamaica. To which Jamaica?
Absolutely.
The Jamaica that has evolved consistently. The Jamaica that is no longer the same Jamaica you remembered. The streets look different when you go back. Like, everything is different. You know, there's the Americanization, there's the progress, there's the lack of progress, there's all these things. So
all combined in one.
As a member of the diaspora, I think it is my duty to uphold, uplift, but also critique and agitate for a better Jamaica. Because if I can preserve what is good about Jamaica, and if I can influence good, and if I can knock out bad, then maybe there will be less brain drain. And maybe those of us who can't fully go home can somehow return and empower those that are there. And be useful. And don't think we're saviors. Just be useful in this endeavor as a diaspora member.
There you go. Well said, well said. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Jamaica. The evolution is crazy, but at the same time, there is, as you know, this push of crime and bad blessings that is happening in terms of, that's all you hear, right? Negative aspects, right? And I mean, it's always been like that because, yes, as much as Jamaica is big, it's small, so it's portrayed as it's all bad. So it's good that you are advocating that there is good things about it, and hopefully in time that, you know, they can get past that bad aura that is like putting this stigma on the country, right? So, you know, in your opinion, what do you think it would take? I know, not like just your opinion, generally. I know that's a loaded question, but let's just hear what you have to say on that topic.
You want them to turn me back at the airport in Jamaica. You want them to turn me back at the airport.
I don't.
Listen to me, like, for lack of care of going home, for lack of care of my access at the airport.
It's your opinion, remember.
Jamaica's challenge, in my mind, has been leadership. This is why I always talk about leadership. Jamaica's challenge has been leadership. It has been, we're a fairly young country. So I give Jamaica a lot of grace for that. We're going to be 60 next year in terms of independence. And we're still under the Queen. Kudos to Barbados for letting go of that vestige. So we're still young. So I'll give us that. Young in terms of country. In terms of country life, we're kids. In terms of the life of a country, we're kids.
Absolutely.
And we have been kiddish in our leadership. We have been kiddish in our approach to politics. So we've done the color, this color, that color. We've done the partisanship. We've done the tribalism. We've fallen down every trap of colonialism. Every vestige of colonialism was to destroy us and to separate us and to put chasms between us. And we've fallen down those hills consistently. That is Jamaica's problem. Now, over the years, yes, we've had, you know, a charismatic leader, and we've had, you know, different types of leaders emerge through the political system. But these people, by and large, have very rarely been for the people. And these people, by and large, have been rarely skilled to contend with global markets and economies, to contend with the pressures that are outside of the island that impact the island. We
Yeah.
can't even stop guns from getting into the island because
Into.
politicians were the first to allow it in. So
Hmm.
we, if we do not address that issue where we identify real leaders that have the skill sets to contend with what is facing us in the world, but also leadership on a whole that is not using the ploys of colonialism to dismember the people literally. When we get to that place, we can see a big time Jamaica. Until then, we're big in culture. We're big in boasting.
Hmm.
We're big in all these things. But leadership is still our issue.
That's huge, right? And it's good to see the perspective and the intelligence in your answer. And again, don't worry, they will still grant you access into the country
I'm
because
going
it's just your
speaking.
opinion.
I'm speaking.
But there's a lot of truth in what you just said there, right? So that's well said, as the comment there. Great answer, right? So, again, that goes to show your CEO mindset and the way that you look at things holistically, right? So, you know, basically, what's something that people don't know about the pressures or the workflow of being a CEO? Like, talk to us about that.
Oh my goodness. So first of all, it depends on the CEO in which context, but I do believe
Yeah.
all CEOs contend with similar things.
Hmm.
We contend with perfectionism.
Hmm.
We contend with, is our vision being heard, understood, carried out?
Hmm.
And we have sleepless nights. We have restless nights. I mean, my most tiresome years were CEO years. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Tiresome because
Yeah.
when you leave work, you don't leave work. A lot of people, they have a boss mentality, so they think, oh, the boss. What does the boss know? What does the boss?
Yeah.
No, no. A person with a CEO leadership lens
Yeah.
is constantly contending with the pitfalls that come at businesses, from the externalities that impact us, whether it is economics, whether it is finance, from the perceptions. Like, we have to contend with the perceptions of a business. We have to contend with the
Absolutely.
perceptions of the organization. How is it being received? How is our story being told? A lot of people think CEO is easy work, and you just, they think we push
Overseeing.
paper in an office,
Hmm.
and, they have a boss colonial mentality of what a leader is, right? But
Yeah.
CEOs, like a real true to goodness CEO,
Hmm.
is show me a CEO, I show you a tired person, tired as hell. Because
Yeah, it's true. They say
it's a
there's a
lot.
lifespan of a CEOs are short-lived, right? Because there's a
Yes,
lot of stress that they take on,
yes.
right? So, definitely it's some insight, right? Because
The
it's
buck
even
stops
just
on
from
your shoulder.
everything,
Yeah.
100%, right? So, over the last year, there's been like a real diversity inclusion shift, right? I'm wondering how the new push for this inclusivity has changed things for you on a whole, professionally and personally.
So professionally, it doesn't change much because I've always been a black woman and very proud of such.
Hmm.
But what I have noticed is definitely more token jobs have surfaced in
Hmm.
in every sector, especially end of last year into start
Yeah.
of this year. Everybody was throwing a position at the problem. So
Hmm.
George Floyd happened. May he rest in peace. George Floyd
RIP.
happened. All of a sudden, everybody remembered how evil racism was and how wicked it was. And
Yeah.
then people got on the Black Lives Matter thing. Then they dropped it. All of that stuff's going on. And
Hmm.
organizations, companies, brands started to throw. I literally think of it as spaghetti on the wall. They're like, let me just
See if it
throw this
sticks.
position.
Yeah.
So now everybody's a diversity and inclusion specialist. Now
Hmm.
like, every job in the organization is great, but we'll just make that one position and we get that black person in. And, hey, we got our black guy. Hey, we got our black girl. So
Yeah.
that's what I observed happening.
Hmm.
It
100%.
sicks my stomach really to
Hmm.
see it, because sadly our people fall for the okey doke all the time.
Hmm.
Oh, there's a job for black folks. See, Change has come.
Changes occurred. There you
Change has
go.
occurred. Stop the protest. Shh, shh. You guys, you BLM people, go sit down and stop the noise. Don't you see the people
Mm,
give you a position? You know, that's what I've observed.
yeah.
Now, as a business person now, and as a person who informs brands and so on, I
Hmm.
am informing them to follow the way.
Yeah.
I am
100%.
informing them to make sure that their company is reflecting this diversity of which they speak.
Hmm.
I am informing them that there is an opportunity here to showcase the best of us. And
Hmm.
that's at the very least is what I would hope would have come of this
Yeah.
moment that happened in 2020. I was hoping that we would wake up to our greatness and wake up to excellence and deliver in the same vein.
Hmm.
And so, in terms of my work, it's always with that lens. I've always had that lens. How do we show excellence? How do
Yeah.
we, do the work that is valuable? And how do we really stay diverse, not just in word, but in action and in embracing differences and so on. So, I expect that that will continue to change and shift as we go. But I can
Hmm.
tell you this much: I don't expect the big brands to do much more. I
Yeah.
honestly don't. I think they've hit their mark. I think they've
Hmm.
opened up enough token positions. I think they're done hearing about this stuff. I think they're
Yeah.
done, and
Yeah.
I don't think we can expect much more shifts there.
Hmm.
Especially because our people got real happy real fast with little tokens, right? So, you know,
100%. 100%. We still got a lot more work to be done, right? That's for sure. So, but as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day.
no,
So, we gotta see the problem, identify the problem, and then work together to come with solutions, right? So, in your professional life, like you wear a few hats, right? So, what would you say is your favorite hat and why?
so my favorite hat is I have two favorite hats. I like cultural curation, and I
Hmm.
like helping brands tell their story. I like
Nice.
I like shifting people's idea of their brand. What I've learned as I work with different, whether they're solopreneurs or small businesses, a lot of people had an idea. They didn't have a brand.
Hmm.
They had an idea. I'm gonna open widget A company, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna sell widget A forever. They never talked about who their audience was. They
Hmm.
never talked about how are they going to get widget A to the audience. They never talked about how do they impress upon this audience to
Hmm.
become a tribe of widget A. In advertising, we call it LTV, lifetime value. How do you
Nice.
get lifetime value from a client
Yeah.
is through your storytelling. It's through
Hmm.
your connecting. People connect to our why all the time.
Yeah.
And if you can parlay that and add layers of infrastructure around it, you can have a successful brand and business, right? So
Wow.
I get excited about waking up people to that idea
Hmm.
that yeah, you kind of need a story. You can't
Yeah.
just be like, I'm gonna make A. I'm gonna make A and I'm gonna sell 1,000 A, I'm gonna be rich. No.
No, it's
Do
not gonna
you
work out
do
like
you
that.
know who wants A? Do you
Hmm.
know where they reside? Do you know what their interests are? Are there similar interests to yours? Why are you interested in A anyway? Why not B? You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
a lot of people haven't done that work to really flesh it out, and then you see them like 2 years later, and they're like, "Oh, the people didn't support my thing." No, the people didn't even know you existed. Stop it.
Yeah,
You know,
there was no strategy, no
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 strategy whatsoever.
organization.
Yeah, yeah.
So no, that's big. What advice do you have for somebody that has an idea, thinking that they want to launch something or they're good at something? Like, talk to us about that based on you being, a business consultant, right? In terms of that.
Yeah, so like I never knock ideas,
Hmm.
but I always challenge people to go and do the work of a business plan.
Hmm.
I can do a business plan with people as well, and there are lots of consultants out there, so people can do
Yeah.
it. Is to actually do a business plan, because in doing the business plan, you actually start plotting out the journey of this idea,
Hmm.
right? You can't just have an idea. I have tons of idea. Andre, I have idea every night. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? none of them are business words yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta sit down and write it out. Okay,
To see.
so I'm gonna do this thing. What does it take to get this item up and running? One,
That's
if
big.
it's something you're making, if it's a product, where will it be manufactured? Right?
Mm-hmm.
What is your shipping and distribution plan? And everybody always leaves out marketing. So you make this nice business and you don't tell nobody about it.
How does
So
it work? Yeah,
how does
it's
that
not
work?
gonna go nowhere.
How does that work? So in sitting down and doing a business plan, you will also do a marketing plan. You will also do your brand storytelling. You will also do your why. You will also do your connecting the dots. Am I going to
Mm-hmm.
get an e-commerce website or am I not? You know, what are the things that you need to make
Yeah.
this business work? The other thing I tell people to do is, can you identify anybody or thing that is doing exactly what you do? Because there are
Mm-hmm.
no new ideas under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
There are no new ideas under the sun. And you shouldn't be worried about that. I tell
Yeah.
people all the time, Wonder Bread doesn't worry about harvest. They
There you
could
go.
care less.
There's a piece of the pie for everyone.
Everybody can try the same idea. But
Mm-hmm.
can you identify somebody who's doing what you want to do or doing close to what you're doing, like an affiliate?
Mm-hmm.
And then study that. What did they do? What did they do that you never thought about? Did you go on their website? Like you know, I consult with people, and one of the things I put in the package is examples of people that are doing what they do, because I know they didn't look. I
Mm.
know off the bat they didn't look. So I'll
Mm-hmm.
go and do market research for them.
Yeah.
Like I actually do too much for people, but I'll do market research for them, and I'll be like, this person is at this level of the
Mm-hmm.
game, and this person is mid-level, this person is beginner like you.
Mm-hmm.
These are the things they're doing
Right now.
that they're doing correctly,
Yeah.
that are working.
Mm-hmm.
These are the suggestions I'm making for you, you know, tailor-made to you, of course. So did you do that research? So when you sit in your bed, like I had some ideas, I see them right now on the shelf in Walmart, right?
Yeah.
Like I like, you know,
They come up later.
you know, you sit in there, and you're like, damn, if I had done that thing that I thought about, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, the guy who made like the squeegee cloth, right? Like
Yeah.
when you wring
Yeah.
it out and it's still dry and all this.
Mm-hmm.
I thought of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have ideas.
Absolutely.
But can you go? Just do a little Google search. Who's
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing? Go on YouTube. YouTube is full of videos of people doing things.
Absolutely.
Go on there and look. Is there somebody doing something similar? What do I like about what they're doing? What don't I like? And then you
Mm-hmm.
talk to a professional who can help you strategize. Because it is important to have more than an idea. You have to have
Yeah.
a plan. Have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail.
Plan to fail.
Right? It's 100%. 100%. So, let's talk about the good things you do in the community. Like, how did that come about when you decided to, start those endeavors of giving back? Like, just, again, it was an idea and then it was implemented, but just walk us through that, right? Because,
So, like, I'm always doing things in the community. I think my default setting is to serve. So, some people call people servant leaders. I don't think I'm a servant leader, but I do believe I know when to serve.
yeah.
And so I'm always, I can't tell you how much pro bono things I've done. I cannot tell you, Andre, how many hours I've given. And some of it just happens. It just happens by default.
Yeah.
Other things is people know me and know that I'll do it and call me. So like when COVID hit, I got a call from Elaine saying, hey, Danae, they're about to lock in the seniors. We have to do something about it. That's literally where it starts. And
Wow.
I go into gear because, operational, logistical mind. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. How can you make it work? Tweak it.
Mind. Let's make the flyer. You know what I mean?
Nice.
I'll run into action and do those things. But then I'll also do simple things like just do things that nobody sees a picture of anywhere. Just because I'm a giving person.
Yeah.
So those things just come up out of, who I am on the side. When I'm not busy, on the side, I am a giving person. I have a heart for our community. I have a heart for young people in particular. I get along with adults and seniors, but I have a concern for young people because I feel like there's more mentorship that is needed.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy when I get a call from a young person saying, I want you to be my mentor. I don't put out there that
Nice.
I mentor people. I never
Hmm.
like I, I never used to put it out there. Like I might
Yeah.
have it now in my bio, but I
Hmm.
never used to put it out there. But people would call me. I nominate you to be my mentor. I
Wow.
demand you to be my mentor. And I'm
That's
like,
a
okay.
rewarding feeling right there,
Yeah.
right? So
So
they're seeking you.
they must have seen something in me, or they must have,
Hmm.
exchanged thoughts and been in a space with me and see value in something I've done, and
Yeah.
and they approach me. So I enjoy those things, and I enjoy
Hmm.
when they happen organically and they come at me naturally. But I'm a weirdo, so I don't get overly emotional about it, and I don't get
Hmm.
overly expressive about it. It's just what it is. It's just what I do, you know.
Nice. Nice. Big shout outs to Elaine. That's how connected me and you
Yes,
together. And,
yes,
I'm so grateful that you guys were doing those things for those elderly people. And, I know that's just the start of more things that are to come. And, spreading the love back, right? It
yeah.
comes back tenfold, right? So definitely it's a great thing. And, I'm happy that we took this time to have this conversation. It's been impactful, powerful one that, whether somebody's listening to it today, they're going to hear it back tomorrow, and they're going to get connected with what you do and how you can assist, as well as your journey, right? Because again, it just speaks testament to this whole show and what the mantra is, right? That,
Yeah.
today doesn't dictate tomorrow, right? So do what you have to do today to make tomorrow better, right? So just before we go, I'm going to ask you two more questions, and, walk us through a day in the life, like, of your day, right? So what does a typical day look like for Miss Perth?
Oh boy, Andre. So the problem Danae has is she still doesn't sleep enough.
Hmm.
So I am up technically at 4.
Wow.
But I'll go back. I'll go back to sleep.
Hmm.
I'll go
You
back.
take a nap.
Try to go back. I'll oversleep. All of that stuff. I have 3 alarms. All of that.
Hmm.
So a typical day officially starts at 7.
Hmm.
Um, and it involves just kind of like plotting out the day in my head.
Yeah.
More formally, people write down their day, right? And
Hmm.
and I recommend those skill sets to people too if you want to do
Yeah.
it. Write down what are the things you want to accomplish today, and give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Between getting out of the bed and showering, I
Hmm.
am listening to content that feeds me.
Nice.
So it varies. Like it could be a YouTube speech, like they have all these like empowerment gurus. Take advantage of it. You'd be
Absolutely.
surprised the things that a light bulb will turn on for you. So I like listening to people who talk about abundance
Hmm.
and manifestation and visualization. I like listening to those kinds of presentations.
Hmm.
And so I'll do that all the way until I'm ready to leave the home.
Nice.
Leave home, I go to my 9 to 5. 9 to 5, I'm in healthcare management. So there's all of that throughout the day.
Hmm.
My lunchtime is usually busy. I'm usually on a Zoom, or I'm in some other kind of meeting for the other things I do in my
Hmm.
life. And then my official 9 to 5 is actually a 9 to 5. It goes from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
At about 5:30, I get home and I start working on the other projects. So
Hmm.
it might mean I'm taking a call with somebody I'm consulting, and I
Hmm.
do a 1 hour Zoom consult. Then I come off of that. I have to now do the notes and start the research for whatever it is I'm going to do with them or for them. I'm curating shows right now for a venue, so I'm calling and getting artists together for these showcases that I'm organizing.
Nice.
I'm also planning, what will come next year and so on. So it's not 24 hours of work.
It's about 20, it sounds like.
It's like 20. It's like 20. Um,
Hmm.
and listen, I am working on it because I don't want to romanticize hard work. I want to romanticize smart work.
I
And
like that.
so I'm constantly challenging myself to do things smarter. So
Hmm.
one of the things that happened in doing so, if we have time, so I used to think, because I'm a perfectionist, do it yourself. Do everything
Yeah.
yourself. Do it yourself. Don't bother to waste time waiting on this person to come and do it. Listen to me. Just
Hmm.
because you can doesn't mean you should.
You should. There you go.
Just
Big.
because you can doesn't mean you should.
Hmm.
So, for instance, graphic design is not my forte ever. Why would I try to do this
Yeah.
when I could hire that help, right?
Hundred
So
percent.
stop starving people out there thinking you're greater than everybody else. And,
Hmm.
and you know, identify the things that you are skilled at, focus on the things you're skilled at, and you'll do those well, and then leave room for those who are skilled at the other things to do it,
100%.
to help you, and then you can collaborate on awesome projects, right? So that is, like, in a nutshell, my day.
Yeah.
You know, of course I try to eat sometimes and stuff like that. And I do binge watch, you know, some stuff. um
Hmm.
you know, it's so funny how our patterns have changed in media. Like, we used to be um navigating the serial world. So serial means you watch an episode and then next week you watch another episode, right?
Yeah.
Now
Absolutely.
we'll sit down
One
for
what?
four
One
hours
weekend.
and we'll kill a weekend on a show.
Hmm.
I don't know if
Hmm.
it's good or bad. I think, you know, but it's changed, right? So
Yeah.
things change. We have
Absolutely.
media different now. So I'm in the binge watcher posse as well. So I'll binge watch
Hmm.
some stuff.
There you go. There you go. That's an exciting, eventful day that you do, right? So, but that's what it takes, hard work and dedication, right? So, before I let you go, I got to ask you, as this is a mortgage show, where's the most favorite place in your home?
I'm in it right now. Um, well, this place and my kitchen. Um,
Hmm.
Not that I'm always cooking, guys. Don't get excited. Um, but I like the kitchen in this space. In
Hmm.
you know, in this condo, it's the biggest space. It's the kitchen.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
I really like it. But I like being in this room. I
Hmm.
like coming back to some books that I haven't read in a while and realizing that I totally didn't read them in the same way.
Yeah.
So I like coming back in here, and I do all my calls from this room. All my Zooms are done from this room. All my
Nice.
lives are mostly done from this room, or, you know, wherever else. But so I find I spend a lot of time in this in my study.
That's amazing. Good stuff. Good stuff. It's been exciting. Before I let you go, I'm going to give you the floor so that you can plug anything that you want, let people know where they can reach you, and, just summarize any last thoughts or words that you want to share with our viewers and listeners on the CAC show for episode 81.
So I want to leave with people a few things, but I'll try to narrow it down.
Hmm.
Success is not a straight line, and our ideas of success will have to continually evolve.
Hmm.
When I was coming up, success meant having a big job. You know, so you have a big job, you're
There
successful,
you
right?
go.
So the
Yep.
bank manager, I used to work in banking in Jamaica. I used to be a
Hmm.
teller in Scotiabank. So the bank manager was
The
huge.
biggest job.
Man, if you're the bank manager, you're successful. I
Hmm.
have redefined what success means,
Hmm.
and I have compartmentalized. Success is different from getting rich. Um,
Nice.
and I'm on both paths, honey.
Hmm.
So, you know, but it's not a straight line. I
Absolutely.
came here to study media, and I ended up running, a media organization, a charity, a hybrid organization that is now a social enterprise, and more.
It's huge.
So it's not a straight line. I came
Hmm.
here to study media, and I end up having a master's in environmental studies, emphasis on local economic development. It's not a straight line.
Hmm.
Um, I now, have my own consulting org, and I haven't even put in half of the work to,
Hmm.
promote it and, see if I can elevate it to the next level and apply all the skills I apply to my clients to my own thing. I haven't even done that. It's
Yeah.
not a straight line. So don't get frustrated. Don't give up. If you have a plan, stick to the plan. The most you should do with your plan is course correct. So
Mm-hmm.
COVID happened and we had to course correct. A whole bunch of
Absolutely.
ideas we had to drop them and pivot and change and shift. But you had a plan. If you didn't have a plan, you can't pivot. If you
Mm-hmm.
didn't have a plan for widget A, when COVID hit and you can't distribute widget A and you can't reach markets or you can't advertise in the ways that you used to,
Yep.
do you give up on widget A or do you change your approach with widget A? Or do you diversify widget A? So always have a plan, but know that success is not a straight line. So if anything, I hope is of value in this conversation is that
Mm-hmm.
there's no straight line. It's more kind of squiggly and wiggly and all of that. But don't lose hope. Don't lose sight of your plan. Continue to do so. I consider myself a multi hyphenate now, and so I will not be locked into boxes.
Mm-hmm.
When I went into urban studies, I remember my urban studies head of department said to me, "You will have to choose between media and planning," and he was
Oh,
very
wow.
firm about it. You have to choose one. I'm like, I don't have to choose one. I'm going to do both.
Mm-hmm.
And
You're gonna
he was
plan
like,
the media.
he was like, what is wrong with this girl?
Yeah.
But now, if you look at my bio, if you look at any profiles you've seen of me, I am always doing multiple things, and I will not be silenced in any one, and I will
Mm-hmm.
not be locked into any box. So
Amazing.
you know, that's me in a nutshell. Those are my words of comfort to you in these times. COVID has hit us hard, but don't lose hope, because nothing is in a straight line. COVID has a purpose too. I know
Mm-hmm.
people who this has been their most successful time in business.
Absolutely.
In business, when everybody was talking about people getting laid off and businesses are going under and all, it was their most successful time in business. So there is something about hiccups. There's something about detours that makes you better and stronger. Tap
Yep.
into that. Do not give up at all.
Look at the positive side.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Well said.
thank you, Andre. I want to plug, Media Bistio is where you can find me on all platforms. I'm on
Mm-hmm.
all social media except TikTok. I refuse. I'm in rebellion. I'm not doing
You're
it.
not dancing?
I'm not doing it. I will dance in reels on Instagram. Good. I
There
know
you
my
go.
age. I know my age. Uh, and I also want to shout out Vibe VX3 because I'm on their board and I also consult with them. And Vibe 105 and VX3 Exchange are doing big things in the city. Shout out to, my compare, Randy Reed, who is now the CEO. I was the former CEO. He is the CEO and he's doing the work that it takes and it's headaches and all of these things. But keep looking out for them and supporting them in the city. We need to build up our own and support our own and stop critiquing our own harder than we do the system and the man. So
There you go.
so thanks, Andre. Great seeing you. It was a pleasure
Likewise.
talking with you and you picking my brain and stuff and having me to silently enter Jamaica going forward. It's okay.
I like that. I like that. You hit every point, then the people know where to reach you, and the best thing is you're true and authentic, right? And that's what matters and means the most, right? So I do want to thank you again for your time, for being here with us on another edition and sharing about your journey, and that ending summary of that not being a straight line was spot on, right? And that's what people need to understand and know, that again, just follow what it is that you want, right? And let it create itself, but you have to put the work in. Like, it's not just going to happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
And that's well said. So thank you again, Miss Perth. I wish you nothing but the best, all the best,
Same to you.
happiness and success until we see each other again. Stay blessed, all right?
Take
Thanks
care.
for your time again. Take care. Bye-bye now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for being here with us on another episode of the CAC Show. I hope you appreciated that one as much as I did. I can see in the comments that it was well received. So I want to thank you again for being here with us and understanding that all we're trying to do is continue to push that envelope that, guess what? You can make anything you want happen, right? So it starts here and in here and putting the work in to drive and steer that ship to where it's got to go. So our guest, Miss Peart, is a true testament to that, as she summarized and said that, nothing is a straight line. So don't feel discouraged. Don't feel defeated. Feel empowered. Learn from it. Whatever you're facing, whatever you're going through, see the positive side of it and turn it into an opportunity. All right? We'll see you next week. Same time, same channel, IG Live at 5. Bye for now. Peace and love.